Our negative emotional states are clearly uncomfortable, so it's no wonder we choose to suppress them and avoid them like the plague. They don't feel good, and this avoidance of the negative sensation is a very normal part of being human. Often we find strategies to distract ourselves from these uncomfortable sensations. We adopt avoidance patterns and addictions of all and any kind to various substances, behaviors, attention seeking, or to overworking and overbusyness, or to dissociation from ourselves, our bodies, and others to detach from or avoid these unwanted feelings. We may procrastinate or fall into apathy as a lack of will, or a state of confused or murky non-doing to self-sabotage ourselves as an avoidance strategy. We sense that feeling is somehow dangerous, and its unwanted arrival has us falling into whatever avoidance strategy we learned as a child to escape and to numb ourselves. We learn to ignore what our body was signaling to us, even when the body was trying to keep us safe by giving us these painful or uncomfortable signals. We misunderstood that the body was trying to signal protection or a need for environmental change, but under stress and without tools or empowerment or knowledge to make needed change as children, we didn't hear its wisdom, and we learned to override and numb what it was trying to communicate to us. The body uses physical pain and feelings to communicate with us. And remember that feeling is the key, whether it's expressed as this physical pain or emotional pain. And we learn to recoil from either of these sensations, to turn them off as quickly as possible and to move past them into some other sensation that feels better. These maladaptive strategies are ultimately harmful and negating to the body's wisdom that's attempting to signal our conscious mind so that it can heal itself or make an adjustment back into equilibrium. The body is infinitely wise, but we learn to shut off its wisdom in order to survive. We lost contact with the body, and then we lost contact with our deepest inner knowing and that intuitive sense of self. Let's think about how we experience different feelings in our own bodies. When you're anxious, you feel it in your body as a tension and contraction of energy. The muscles contract. You feel tight in your neck and your shoulders, or you feel upset in your stomach. When you're angry, your body becomes flushed with adrenaline, your nervous system activates, and your blood begins to pump as your body's mounting its response to this stress as one of the fight, flight, or flee responses. It's very physical, it's very visceral if we pay attention. When you're sad and grieving, your body and your heart area can actually hurt and feel pain and constriction. The birth of the term heartache or heartbroken. We have a really natural fear of any surfacing negative emotions because we didn't really have any tools that worked with them as children. We never were taught what to do with our negative, fearful emotions. So what we did was adopt an adaptive avoidance strategy. It was a self-preservation strategy. We adopted control of our environment and others around us as a way to keep the reins of control pulled tight and to avoid repeating unpleasantness and its associated dysregulation. We learned this from our conditioning as children, but we carry it with persistence as we grow older. And these are really outdated maladaptive strategies that have just become habits and patterns of response in our bodies from anticipation of a negative outcome. We can compassionately witness the wisdom in these avoidant and adaptive strategies, knowing we were a child doing the best we could to survive And from this perspective, we can empathize with it wholeheartedly. Your inner child did the best she could under the unique circumstances she found herself within. But as an adult, you have a choice. You can retrain this behavior and become much healthier, more regulated, and a lot happier in your life and relationships by consciously working to unravel this old avoidance and sabotage patterning. To gain emotional mastery, we have to learn that emotions aren't as scary as we thought they were as children. As adults, we can look again and we can accept and integrate our past traumas and other self-harming developmental patterns. But first, we need to become conscious of them, and we do this through all of our embodiment practices, listening, learning what the body is feeling, and translating that into meaning. And when we have the tools for releasing and retraining these old nervous system responses into a healthier way, we can really begin to work with them to find a new sense of balance and harmony and peace in our lives again, and in our relationships with self and other. We can begin to gain confidence in our ability to feel the full range of our emotional states that we're capable of experiencing as humans in these bodies without any fear. We don't see this particular emotion as negative. We simply experience an emotion. And this is an actual gift. Our emotional bodies are an actual amazing device for experiencing our reality. They're not a curse, as we may have been led to believe by our experiences as children. Actually, as we learn to deal with these learned negative adaptive patterns, we can also bridge our nervous systems over into a reprogramming that's positive and joyful, and eventually even blissful. Emotional patterning and physical bliss are possible. This is what our body practice is beginning to build the foundations for. With dedication, we can awaken from our numbed out and armored body states and begin to activate this ecstatic, joyful bliss potential that lives in our physical body and our energy bodies. Our emotional bodies as human beings are humongous. It's truly one of the gifts that we receive in our human embodiment. And it's very much the feminine core of our experience as human beings. And as we practice this body transformation, we realize that we're unfortunately all too familiar with and tend to anticipate the unpleasant emotional states, but that we may actually have a lot less experience with the potential of the really highly positive ones, such as joy and bliss and ecstasy, which are enormous energetic states and extremely pleasure-inducing. Our nervous system can be wired for pain or for pleasure, or unfortunately, in some cases of trauma, the pain and pleasure signals get mixed. Our goal is to let go of the old painful responses and build the capacity in our nervous system for much more pleasure. This is the journey into sacred Eros. It's the reconnection of your own nervous system and energy body into the higher bliss grids of light.